The fishing news is brought to you by Shoreline Insurance Agency, Interlux Marine Paint, Maxima Fishing Line, and Okuma.
Hey folks, Fred Golofaro here for this week's video fishing report. And Montauk summer run of stripers is still in full swing. Lots of big fish being taken. In fact, one captain told me, drop an eel or a live bait anywhere around the point and you're likely to catch a 30 or 40 pound striper. You know, doubt it's that easy all the time, but if you catch the right tide, you know what you're doing, you have a pretty good shot at catching a trophy striper. They're taking, besides eels, they're taking spot, legal size porgies, even sundials, fishing up at the elbow, great eastern, and out in front of the lighthouse. If you're still looking for your trophy striper, if you're still longing for that 40 pounder, you really consider getting together, grab some friends, book one of the charter boats that advertise in the report section of the Fisherman, and get out there while the fishing's hot. Also give some thought to releasing some of these big girls. You know, this is the future of our fishery, and you really need 6 or 7 30, 40 pound stripers. Talk to your friends, you know, keep 1 or 2 fish, make sure you let the captain and mate know that you want to release some of the fish, and there's nothing better than a photo of you and the fish with the fish right out of the water, bright colors, the fins erect, and it's something you'll have to remember that fish for the rest of your life. So definitely give that some thought if you headed out that way. Fluke fishing remains a good option on both shores, but you will have to cull through a lot of short fish to get a few keepers in most areas. Don't forget the Knights of Columbus Fluke tournament is this weekend. That's based out of Marine Max in Lindenhurst. It takes place on Sunday, and it's followed by a great barbecue and raffle. Proceeds from the tournament go to Special Olympics and syndicate fishing. Entry fee is $20, includes the barbecue and a tournament t-shirt. And there's still time to enter. You can enter right up to Saturday evening. You can do it at Marine Max, Lindenhurst Bait and Tackle, Captree Bait Shop, Saltwaters Outfitters in West Islip, and J&J Tackle and Patchogue are all entry points for that tournament. If you're going to be fluke fishing along the South Shore this weekend, keep in mind now, bay water temperatures are getting up even into the 80s. Your best opportunity is probably going to come during the last 2 or 3 hours of the incoming current and maybe the start of the ebb, start of the outgoing, when you get that cooler, cleaner water into the inlet and bays. And don't forget the difference between tide and current. That's a big factor, and I hear people all the time confused about the tide and current. Most of the bays along the South Shore, all the bays, has a difference between tide and current. For example, in Fire Island, there's about a 2-hour, 45-minute difference between the tide and current. Just for example, if the high tide table says high tide at 12 noon, that current is still going to be coming in for another 2 hours and 45 minutes. We won't reach high slack until 2:45. So that's the time you want to be fishing, from that high tide time, noon to 2:45. That'll give you the last 2.5 hours of the incoming current. Very important to understand that difference, and it varies from area to area. Whichever area you fish often, once you know the difference between the time and current, it's pretty consistent. Can be affected by wind, strong winds out of a certain direction, moon tides, but it keeps you right in the ballpark once you know that general difference. If you want to be sure of putting some fillets on the table, like I said, you got to cull through a lot of shorts with the fluke fishing. Still lots of good sea bass action around. The ocean reefs and wrecks off the South Shore, the East End is still bailing big sea bass out at Montauk, and some of the Orient boats still doing very well with big sea bass, and obviously getting porgies also with the sea bass. In the surf, hey, if you don't mind beach traffic, fighting the beach traffic and crowded beaches, we're starting to get some quite a few reports of kingfish taking worm baits along the western South Shore beaches. If you can avoid the high volume traffic hours heading out east, Montauk still has solid action with big blues again this week. That's all along the north side, basically from the light all the way to Shagwong. So if you're looking to bend the rod, have some fun, The action's all on topwater plugs during the daytime. There are some blues at night also on darters and needlefish meant for bass. Bass fishing still on the tough side, despite all the bass out in the rips and really not too far off the beach. Other than the one flurry of big bass on the beach last week, it's been very picky. Offshore, good reports of bluefin tuna still around the wrecks in 20 to 30 fathoms. Fish anywhere from undersized to 60, 70 pounds being trolled and jigged. Occasionally topwater action also, if you get on the right pot of fish. And still hearing a decent number of makos in the 100 to 200 pound range. Don't forget you got the Star Island Mako and Tuna Tournament this weekend. That should draw a lot of folks out there, and they should have a good tournament with all the fish that are around. Hey, until next week, this is Fred Golofaro for thefisherman.com.
The fishing news is brought to you by Shoreline Insurance Agency, Interlux Marine Paint, Maxima Fishing Line, and Okuma.